is called vEmpire.
And they are the largest decentralized metaverse investment organization in the world.
Hello, everybody, and what a lovely day it is. Let it kick off, and I'll do some button tapping in the background. You know what comes after Roby and Qcoin? When Binance.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you see me?
Can't see you, no.
How about now? How's it going?
Good, thank you. Good. I'm sure viewers are wondering. Neither of us are board or the CEO. So what's happening, Estefano?
So our bold CEO has taken a well-deserved break, and I think he's currently somewhere in Europe.
Somewhere
in Europe, enjoying his time off. I'm really excited actually for this episode because I've heard about Cult here and there.
You've heard them? You've not seen them?
Yeah, exactly. No, Dom has showed us quite a lot. So yeah, but I don't actually know the intricacies of how it's all managed, and like it's a massive community. It's like a really strong community, and I'm just wondering how the hell do they manage themselves? Like who does what, you know? So yeah, and we got Harry with us. You can bring him in now.
Let's bring Harry in.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
There he is. Yeah, all good. You all right?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Good. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me on. It's a bit of a big one actually, being part of the Cult community and representing everyone. So I hope you do a good job. But let's go. Yeah, cults. Wow, where do I even start from? Let's talk about Cult. So, Cult, right? So Cult came around February, and initially not many people knew about it. There was a pre-sale. I think VEMP Dom actually was quite early in on Cult, right? From what I've
one of their pre-appointed.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Okay. Oh, so he was actually pre-appointed.
Dom was one of the pre-appointed guardians. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. I actually didn't know that. So you learn something new every day, right? So that's crazy because I got in, and I remember I got in on the back of the whole the Shiba Inu rumor, you know, the Ryoshi rumor, and all that stuff. So me being me, I was like, first I was like you hear all these things like, oh, Ryoshi here, Ryoshi there. You know, there's so many different projects that label that, and you just kind of say, nah, I'm not falling for that. But I don't know what it was. I just looked at it and I went into the Telegram group and I seen there wasn't many people in there, maybe a few hundred people. And I was like, let's buy some tokens. Anyways, bought the tokens like a proper degen and went back into the group, and I saw Mr. C, and I saw who's a big I would say he's the biggest community member personally. This guy holds the community together. He's been around from day dot. He got into the pre-sale and he's a guardian, but he got into guardianship himself. So he literally bought enough tokens to become guardian. Then there was Wastelander, who's been around for a while. If you're in the Cult community, you'll know exactly who he is. I got in there and I'm like, what is Cult? So I bought these tokens, right? And I'm like, what's Cult, right? And they're like,
I like how you bought the tokens first and then you said
I did. There's no point. Like you know what, right? In some projects, you look at the project, then buy tokens. Sometimes you become a degen, right? And you buy tokens and go backwards. And I literally did that. And I'll admit that because I did it, right? And I went in there and I'm like, what is Cult DAO? And they're like, have you not read the manifesto? And I'm like, no. So they sent me the link. As soon as I got the link, the first thing that comes on is the Great Dictator speech from Charlie Chaplin with the music from, I can't remember the gentleman now, but it's from, what's the movie? Inception. I think it's the soundtrack for Inception. And honestly, I was listening to it, and that's the first time I've heard that speech. And I was like, wow, this is quite moving. Like, this is something different. I'm not even read the manifesto at this point. I'm just listening to the Charlie Chaplin speech. I'm like, this is like solid. Anyways, got into the manifesto. I'm not going to lie, it's a grim read when it doesn't start off like, you know, it's not all roses and You know, it literally is a grim read, but it really goes into the harsh reality of the world, what people are suffering with, what's really going on, and what Cult DAO wants to do in the space. So there's 3 main pillars for Cult DAO. So fighting centralization, furthering the cause of decentralization, and directly benefiting noble causes. So at that point, I'm like, wow, this actually has real utility. Like someone actually wants to make a change here. So then I was like, let's buy more. So I went in, bought more, go back to the manifesto, read it like 3-4 times. And, you know, I could relate to some of it, but the rest, it wasn't relatable to me, but it was relatable to the rest of the world, because there's other people out there that are suffering, that need help, or are basically shackled, right, by the social norms that we have and how our societal norms and stuff. So I started getting more involved, started listening to people around the project, started listening to the devs, you know, started listening to Mr. O, because he was really active, still is really active on Twitter, on Telegram. Artorius is the co-founder, started speaking to him. And I'm that type of person, if I want to understand more in depth and I want to support a project, then I will literally go to the source and try and extract as much information as I can, because I'm putting my name to this, right? So I want to know what's going on. So so I started exactly doing that, and before I know it, Manifesto Mondays, 7 months going. It's crazy with the co-founder. So it's literally it's become a part of me in a way, because I really believe in the cause that they're trying to do. We're not perfect, but we can touch the points and go through how we've evolved and everything.
So just to get a few things clear, so you don't actually work for Cult, as in no one works for Cult DAO. It's like you're part of a community, and then it's a community effort to try and grow the protocol, try to like put proposals forward, vote on proposals, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So there's no leader. I mean, some people call Mr. O a leader, and he literally fights back on Twitter. He's like, I'm not a leader. And I remember from the early days, Artorius and Mr. O said that we've given you the tools, and now it's up to the many to go and implement them tools and also to build on top. And that just gives a lot of and that made me really bullish, because when people build projects, they want the clout, you know. And some people come with the third, or is anonymous. But where did Bitcoin start from, right? And that's a big statement, but where did it all really start from? So if you're supporting any crypto, you're supporting Bitcoin in a way, because that is, you know, that is the what do I want to say? That is the starter of it all. And it doesn't matter if you're anonymous or not. I think it's around the protocol itself, how it's delivered, the renounced contract, putting that liquidity in so early, locking it for 264 years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if anyone's going to rug it, it's going to be his grandkids, right?
I think as well, for me, it was the mathematics and the technology behind the tokenomics as well. Like, do you want to briefly explain? Because as far as I'm aware, like it's quite new. Like what the team have created, the whole idea between the 0.4% tax. Do you mind briefly going over that?
Yeah, absolutely. So generally speaking, we get, you know, everyone thought that Cult was a meme coin, right? And because it's got that persona of being called a cult, and then the mask, and the marketing thing was a total genius, by the way. So obviously called it Cult DAO. Cult generally has a bit of the term cult isn't really a positive term in most people's eyes. And some people got put off by it. I'm not going to lie. I read it and I was like, cult? Do I want to be part of a cult? Like, what is this, right? And then the whole mask persona. So there was a lot of people that came into it because they thought it was a meme coin, and then saw the utility, exactly like me. Like I came into it and then I saw the utility side of it, and then I started looking at the tokenomics. And the 0.4% tax is quite genius, right? Because generally speaking, when you're looking at dexes and stuff, the tax is like 0.5%. So you're going to get hit by that anyway. And the 0.4 is below that threshold, and it doesn't really hit your pocket. Like, yes, you are paying it, but you're going to be doing that on a dex anyway. So it's one of them ways where you're like Cult as a community, they'll never shun people for selling or for trading, because you want to fill the treasury, and the treasury funds the proposals. If no one traded, then it wouldn't fill the treasury, and where do you fund the proposals from? And some people want to hold long term, so it benefits everyone in a way.
So it's based on volume then. So the more volume,
Yep.
The much better it is for the protocol, because obviously it's funding the treasury, and then I guess the treasury is what funds all these
The
other
proposals. Yeah. Absolutely, and it's quite genius in a way, because and plus the the whole way how the exchanges came on board, and they wanted, because exchanges work on volume. If there's no volume in a protocol or a token, they're not interested, right? So it was marketed in a very, very genius way, and they only had one rule number one: talk about Cult. And that's it. And you could do that in any way possible, right? You could tweet, you could hold spaces, you can speak about in groups, you can wear a mask,
I love the fact that when people first hear about Cult, the first thing they tweet is, "I've joined a cult." I think that's just genius marketing, because I did it when I first got into Cult DAO. I tweeted that, and then everyone starts getting on board, and then it's just a really big community.
It really is. And the biggest thing is it launched in a bear, right? If you look at the charts of Bitcoin started dipping, and it literally came out. And I really think that the timing of it coming out was quite genius as well, because the tokenomics actually help in a bear, and it gets rid of a lot of tokens. And obviously that drives the value when the bull comes around. So plus the treasury is held in Cult as well, and paired against ETH. And Cult obviously drops a lot more than ETH. That actually benefits the Cult ecosystem. So it's quite a genius way of doing it. I think whoever's behind it, obviously Mr. O, but whoever he is, or a team, I think it's a team of people.
Yeah,
they've really thought about,
because this guy keeps coming up in my newsfeed constantly. By the looks of things, he's a very intelligent person. Team, I don't know. My suspicion, I've heard suspicions of people saying that it could be Satoshi, it could be Gavin Wood. Who do you think it is, and how, and what's his role in obviously you said at the beginning he's not the actual leader of Cult, it's the many who are the leaders, but surely he has some sort of influence within the protocol itself, as in perhaps the influence could be like I don't know, sharing his opinions about certain proposals, that sort of thing.
I think he tries. I can't remember an instance where he has mentioned anything about proposal, which I think is very good in a way, because if he's not a leader, and it's a DAO, obviously being a decentralized autonomous organization, you don't want it to have any influence from the top, right? He's created it, but the voting system is done by the many. And if you're influencing stuff, then you're kind of having that control mechanism, like you're having a voice which is being heard. But what he's doing is, like he said, obviously what I mentioned earlier from day one, saying that I've given you the tools, now it's up to the many to do that, right? You can take it one way or another. But I think personally, he even also said, he also said that he wanted to kind of leave it and walk away from it and let it run, which would work. But obviously you get some people in the community that are like, no, we can't have you go because you've set this up, which I totally get. But he shares a lot of information about the markets. He's really bearish, but really, really bearish. But what he's saying, you kind of understand, because we're in this world where everything's kind of sugar-coated. We're in this massive bubble coming out of COVID, and then everything else that's happening. And also, I think the biggest thing he could do is just point to the manifesto, be like, this is what I've written, followed by this, and that's it. But if he's gonna personally go talking about proposals, then that kind of defeats the purpose of not being a leader, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a ton of sense. Like whoever Mr. O is obviously a massive genius. All of his tweets, I swear, like for every 10 tweets that he sends out, 8 or 9 are literally something very bearish about the world currently. And the messed up thing is that, it's not even messed up, but it's like he quote retweets his tweets, and it's like, told you I was right, and it's like, this guy, he's a massive genius.
But to be fair to him, he has said a couple of times, he could be bullish on the market and get more engagement, or he could tell what he really thinks and get a lot of hate. But I'm pretty sure he's also tweeted saying the day he's bullish, we will know about it.
I'm sure we will. You know what, right? Mr. O is an interesting personality, very different, quite unique in the space.
Has anyone spoken to him, voice?
No.
No.
I'm not gonna lie. I did invite him to Manifesto Mondays because we've been doing it for 7 months, right? Every single week. I think I've missed 2 weeks. Family emergency, and I was celebrating Eid. And apart from that, every single week. So I thought, you know what? It should we should really get him on if he wants to come on. He was unsure if he wanted to dox his voice, which is respectable. I respect him for that. Artorius, obviously, on the other hand, we talked about Mr. O. Artorius has actually supported me with Manifesto Mondays every single week. He's been on with me. He's a co-founder for Cult DAO. And for someone to come on and support the community because it's a community-led spaces, right? It's not done by the team. I'm not a team member. I'm just an investor. And we went to Eid Barca. That was the first crypto conference that we went to. We were sponsors there, and someone came up to me, and people came up to everyone and were like, "Oh, you're part of the team." I'm like, "There is no team. I'm literally. You can go and buy tokens, and you can join me on the other side."
I know. I actually found that insane because, like, when I met you guys, and obviously we first met in ETH Barcelona.
Yep.
But like when I met you guys, I'm like, these people like actually from their own money, from their own pockets, like came to Barcelona and actually represented this protocol in front of like hundreds of thousands of people. And it's just like, it's insane that how the cult community works, because literally you're doing this off your own back. Like your motivation is to like obviously grow the cult community, and you're not really directly getting paid. Like you're not getting a salary. You're literally doing it because you truly believe in this project, which is amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, in this space, right? Like there's a lot of projects that come out. There's a lot of projects that disappear, but ones with a good community and key utility will last. And this is it. Like this is a big project, and I think it'll pave a lot of people's careers into crypto as well, because they'll start thinking a bit differently. Like I know a few community members that are thinking of their own ideas, that want to do it the right way. And if you think about it, right, cult furthers decentralization. And if you've got a product or a project that furthers that decentralization, you've got cult to back you, right? So would it like, is it like you've got a massive community already that are there to support you? You're building an ecosystem, and then you're building other projects around that ecosystem. So I'm really bullish on what they're doing, and I really think that other people are taking initiative from what Cult are doing. We saw a lot of copycats that came along, Cult DAO 2.0 and all sorts. I'm not going to name them now. Yeah. All sorts. They've all obviously flushed down because they had no, they were just trying to copy, right, on the hype. It's just one of them things.
It sounds like there's always copies of everything. I think we might have had a few copies of VEMP as well. But, there's always as soon as something becomes big, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this other thing and copy it.
It's a compliment, though, isn't it? I take it as a compliment to the project that's there. But yeah, the one other thing I wanted to say was what was genius. We touched on the tokenomics, but if you think about the whole Guardians, we'll speak a bit about the Guardians. So we've got Guardians that put the proposals through. There's 50 Guardians of the top 50 holders. So Mr. O approached 50 people that he wanted to pre-appoint. 15 people got back to him, only 15. And
they regret the other people. I bet they're regretting it now.
Absolutely. And if you think about the people that were approached, I think only one person ended up selling out, getting the free tokens, which isn't too bad, because you know what? You can't get 100% success rate, right? People, you can't, like, for example, if I meet someone, obviously I can get a feel of them, but only that person really knows what they're thinking, right? So Mr. O approaching all these people, 15 people replied. One person obviously sold the tokens and whatever, which is fine. But if you think about the Guardians that are there, that are pushing through day in, day out, yeah, they've got a big bag, but if you look at the filtered system, they can't vote on the proposals that they put in. They can't, which is amazing. There's no overlap, right? And then if you think of that, they can't, for example, if I was a Guardian and I put in a proposal, I can't then stake and vote on that proposal to kind of dictate the vote. I can't do that. That's all built in. So all these things, all these little nuggets have been thought of beforehand. It just shows that thought process and all the little things that have been done.
One of the things I just thought of now is, so I'm guessing, so let's say, obviously you have to have a ton of cult to be a top 50 holder, right?
Yep.
What if you were the top 10 or the top 5, you were in the top 5, could you then transfer first of all, do you have to stake all of your tokens to become a Guardian?
Yeah, you do. You have to have them in one bag and you have to stake them. That's right.
Okay, so I couldn't just like if I was a guardian and I wanted two or three guardian positions, I couldn't just like transfer to 3 different wallets and become a guardian and fill the space of. Why would you even want to do that? Actually, does that even make
It wouldn't
sense?
make sense. You'd have to own like over 12 billion tokens in every single wallet, which is probably around $70,000 right now. All-time high was like, actually, I think it was under like just under $1 million, which is crazy.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And then like if we're funded, like actually, you know what? I don't know if I can share my screen. I'll just go through the dashboard a bit.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you about the investment dashboard, how that all works. But before we do that, maybe we should ask you a question. So when you look back, if it had 4% instead of 0.4%, would it be better? Would high tax scare investors and result in 90% less volume? I think you've already kind of answered this, didn't you? I think the reason why it was 0.4 because of the DEX taxes kind of thing. You said,
the slippage. They have like a 0.5% slippage, and that's like automatic, so it doesn't kind of hit your wallet. Like I've been in meme coins where there's a 10% tax, right? And then there's an even higher tax to sell it, right? And I get why some people sometimes do that, but then you've got that control of the community and you keep changing it and this and that. And then, you know, this is set, it's very low. It doesn't really, you don't really kind of, it doesn't hit you, you know?
Yeah, no, I think it's a pretty genius move, to be fair, because like if you want to sell your cult or if you want to buy your cult, 0.4% tax is nothing. It's honestly nothing.
Exactly.
But obviously that relies on a lot of volume, which Cult has achieved, and it's probably
its market cap. Crazy.
Yeah, it's probably going to achieve an even higher volume when the bull comes. But no, yeah, I mean, it would be awesome to speak about the investments and how. So how did the investment work? So Guardian has to put a proposal forward, and then does he pitch that to the many, and then the many vote?
So what happens is, for example, say I've got a project, I've seen Cult DAO, I need some funding for whatever reason, or I need a partnership or anything, right? So I approach Cult DAO, I go into the Discord, and you need to get the attention of a Guardian, because the Guardian needs to basically support you, because they need to put the proposal in. Only a Guardian can do that. So a Guardian will look through, because they're putting their name to it, right? So if they think that the project's a rogue or the intentions aren't right or it doesn't fit the 3 pillars of the manifesto, then they'll be like, you know what, we can't really do it, or it doesn't fit. But if it does, then what happens is we open up a workshop. There's a form that you fill out, like a bit of a how do you fit into the cult pillars? What is your motives? What you wanting to do? What you're looking to achieve? Stuff like that. They'll fill that out. That workshop's open. Then people go into Discord, have a bit of a chat, set up an AMA on Twitter Spaces, have a bit more of a transparent conversation between the project and between the community, and then it goes to a vote, and that's it. As simple as that. I mean, yeah, it's as simple as that. It sounds simple, but I mean, the mechanics of it, right? Like it's still evolving. We're still trying to perfect the way of engaging with the community, making sure that we can get a lot of the community involved in it, because obviously, you know, I think just a couple of weeks ago, actually talking about that, I keep jumping because I keep thinking of new things that are happening. We've got gasless voting, right? So obviously when the Ethereum network, they implemented gasless voting, because on Ethereum, if you're voting, you're paying a couple of dollars, but in some countries you can imagine that's a lot, right? And people are less likely to get involved if they're paying for something on a weekly or a daily basis if they're voting for proposals. But now there's like really no excuse. If you're staked and you're involved and you like the project, it's not going to cost you, you know, it's free voting.
I've got a question on that actually. Like, so I was wondering if anyone in Cult would know, like, what's the ratio between stakers and voting that takes place? Like, for example, if there's 1,000 or 100 stakers, do the 100 stakers actually place their votes, or is it like a 50% or?
That's a good question, actually. I don't know the answer on the top of my head, but it's token weighted voting, and we had the biggest voting outcome for our last proposal.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Because of this, because gasless voting has only just come in, hasn't it? Recently?
Gasless voting, and also I think that there was a big AMA on Twitter, and a lot of people got involved. And if you can, I'm a big believer of Twitter Spaces and doing AMAs on there, because one being that we're what do you call it? You can schedule it, right? So you don't miss it. And two being that you can get people that aren't part of the community also looking in as well. That's the good, because if you're holding AMAs within a closed space, you're only pitching to the community that are already there, right? You're not speaking to the outsiders. You're probably not even speaking to the project, the community of the project that's coming in, because they're not in there.
Yeah, it's basically the best place to do MAs and that sort of thing. But
so I'm interested in seeing the dashboard, the June dashboard.
Yes. How am I sharing this?
Do you reckon you should be able to share it?
Is it present, I guess? Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm always looking at it. I find it so interesting, and the way they've designed it is very interesting, because obviously some investments aren't necessarily investments; they're just like given to good causes.
Yeah, which answers this question this person had: does Decult provide any other benefits than just DAO voting? I guess direct benefits, not really. You can just vote on the DAO, and obviously you'll get. I'm guessing you'll get Cult. I mean, there's an APR or APY or whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a traditional APY. It's more to do with when the investments come back, and the whatever the investment comes back at, 50% is burnt in Cult tokens and 50% is shared between the stakers, which I think is another genius way as well, because you're reducing the supply of Cult, but at the same time you're rewarding the people that are staking as well. But yeah, can you see my screen just now?
Yeah,
we can.
Oh, perfect, grand. So this is our treasury right now. We've got just over $100,000, 86 ETH. You can see here the value of Cult treasury, huge right here, right? But obviously we had a bit of a drop. I think we made a lot of investments around here when Cult took off. We obviously had the quiet period of Feb, and then people started obviously trading the token. It went huge, and then we had the big drop off because we invested in so many projects here around here. Then it picked up again.
I'm pretty sure VEMP was one of the first, maybe in the first 5, maybe?
Quite early, yeah. I think we've made 2 investments into VEMP, and we've got a third one that's going to go to Vote, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a third one that's going to go to Vote. That's right, yeah.
Wow,
so we're bullish.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So the workshop's open. I think it just needs to go to a vote. So we're bullish on VEMP. But yeah, we've funded 102 proposals, and the funding amount is $1.7 million, which I think is huge.
That's amazing.
That's insane. That just goes to tell you the power of the many, I guess.
Absolutely. And I think we were when we met in ETH Denver, I think we were at 900,000 around then. So, thinking of then and how the market's actually gone down since then, we've still nearly doubled our investments, like funding.
Yeah, that's insane. So let me ask you a question. So who gets to decide when? I'm guessing the investment, it could be various different investments, like maybe buying tokens, being in pre-seeds and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, good question. So this is a really, really good dashboard. I'm going to give a shout out to Tyson, who's done this along with the team. It's amazing, and it just makes it so much more easier to kind of read what's going on. So especially if someone is looking to invest and they're not sure, like the dashboard is amazing. So you can see here the distribution of our funding. So you can see here how much we've burnt, how much we're going to charity, distribution. I think this was the distribution. I was looking at this earlier. This was like a test thing that we did, and we just we gave like a bunch of to the treasury to test the proposal and to make sure that the early stakers got a reward. Then we've got the investments that we've made. Obviously that's a huge part of it, because we're wanting to invest protocols that kind of fit in with the narrative of Cult. We've got a marketing here. We've obviously went to ETH Barca. We're going to go to ETH Denver as well, and then we've got partnership funding here. And this is a really good breakdown of where it's gone and what it is and how much ETH has actually gone to each bit as well, and which guardians have actually proposed it. So it's really interesting dashboard. There's so much on here, so much information.
I've actually got a question. So there's 50 guardians. How many of those guardians are actually active?
Ooh, this would be a guess from the top of my head, because no one's really inclined to be, like I could go be a guardian with if I could go buy 12 billion tokens, 13 billion tokens, become a guardian, but there's no demand for me to be active, right? So it's quite hard to kind of like get everyone on board, but there's a lot of guardians that are actually active. So we've got, I would say probably about 14, 15 from the top of my head that are really active. But there's others that are really building in the space. We've got some really, really good guardians that are very well known in the space that are really credible and are really for decentralization. Obviously, Mr. O had a wish list / guest list for the guardians who he wanted on board. It's a bit hard because some people might not check their DMs. Some people might just think, who's Mr. O? Early days, no one knows about him. So, yeah. So it's quite, here, this is a really interesting stat here. So here you can see that which investments are liquid and which are seed funding, which gives us really good insight, right? Because if you look at this, I'm really bullish on this because obviously we want to invest into seed and get as much value as we can, because we're a DAO. You want people to have value and people that are obviously invested in the project. But at the same time, you want to support projects and you also want to further the word of decentralization. So it's finding that balance. So we've got about nearly 64% of liquid assets, and we've got about 36% which are seed funded. So
do you guys ever sell your, like, if you buy tokens or if you invest in anything, do you guys ever sell it on? And if so,
we sold Born a few months ago. It's actually down now compared to what we sold it at. I think, if I can remember on top of my head. But
the bottom, there's
what's
near
that,
the bottom of this, isn't there? There's a bit that says they sold near the bottom. There.
Jeez, you know your way around this, don't you?
He does, yeah. There you go. Bone, 100% sold. Yeah. So there you go. There's a 52 ETH gain.
Yeah, it says there 100%
yeah.
profit. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did the community vote to sell that then?
Really early days, right? So that's probably like the biggest one that's been sold. And it was, so we've been having open discussions on Twitter Spaces, how we're going to go about that. And obviously Guardians are putting their name to it, right? So if they're following the markets, they're following what they've put their name to. One discussion was that the Guardians get together and make a decision on it. The other thing is that we could put it out to a vote to the many again to sell. But with that, it's quite difficult, right? Because imagine, right, if something, you find out down the line that something's going to get rugged, right? I'm just going to stop sharing 1 second. There you go. Right. So if something's going to get rugged or you find out some information that kind of now goes against Cult, and you want to detach yourselves from that. If you put that to a vote and people need to digest that and you need to give them a time frame, that takes a long time. And crypto is really volatile. Yeah. So how do you balance that? So we're still going through that, and we're still, let's say we're still kind of adapting and adopting at the same time, because you want the best process.
You could perhaps set it through delegated voting, maybe. In that way, you have the backing of the many. But then you put it forward towards specific people that have sort of like experience within trading or making investment decisions. Like, for example, and I know a few DAOs are doing this. It's like they're doing delegated voting, and I'm delegating my vote to this person who is an expert in this particular topic, and I'm not, obviously, so I'd rather this person make a decision for me. And like divide the DAO in that sort of section. Like, I'm an expert in this topic, but not in this topic, so therefore I get delegated votes to me, and then when I vote, it counts as not one but many. If you see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's no we're still talking about it a lot, and there's a lot of things that nothing's perfect. I mean, it came out fully functional, which was a big thing in itself, but when you've got a community, you've got to listen to that community and see what they want and kind of do it that way. And there's been a lot of discussions of late, not everyone's going to see eye to eye. How do you manage that? How do you manage expectations? But I always come down to one thing. Think about the DAO, forget individuality, because everyone has a personality. Everyone brings something to the game. Think what's the best outcome for the DAO. And that's going to keep the unity, right? And especially in a market like this, it's hard to build a community in the first place, and Cult has done that perfectly. But to keep the community is another thing, right? So being one of the many, and obviously I want this to have great success because it has true utility and I really believe in the project. I think it's really vital that everyone's heard and everyone is then when decisions are being made, that everyone has a full say in it, and the decision for the DAO is done, but it's done in a way that is fair, right? And it's really hard to implement that in true decentralized fashion.
Yeah, it is. I can imagine, because like if you make quick decisions and you need the vote of the many, obviously there's a process, and I'm guessing that process requires a lot of time.
Absolutely.
From what I see in a lot of the proposals, when it comes to actually selling the tokens, when I've read them, most of them say we'll sell when it does a 3x or 5x to get our initial back, and then the rest will just leave for the next bull run or whatever. I feel like that seems to be the general vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I think some proposals went in early doors and they said we're going to keep it for 18 months or a year or something. With crypto, I think you cannot just do that because, you just can't, right? You just can't, So that personally, that doesn't work for me. But I get the whole thing about 3x or a certain amount where you take initials and a profit, or just initials where you have a bit of a roadmap. But I think personally, when people are putting in proposals, this is just my view because everyone's got their own views. But I think that obviously with the vote of the many, and because it is about the many, right? I think that you need to be a bit more liquid and not rigid in your decisions, because things change in the space, right? From the project to the leaders of the project that you're investing in. From their viewpoints, from if their tokenomics have changed, there's so many, if the market's changed, right? Like so many different things. And so you just need to be very, very careful. Like some people are like, oh, whatever's written in the proposal, that should stick. I get that because you've made an agreement with whatever. But I might as well bring up the elephant in the room, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna mention by names because we don't need to. But we invested in a protocol not long ago, where we did an OTC deal. They gave us the deal a lot cheaper than the market value, right? For doing the OTC deal. So we were up already when we got the tokens, right? Which is great, which shows that they believe in Cult, and obviously we've invested in them. Did they fit the pillars of Cult? I'm not going to mention it, but you know what? It got voted. The many voted. It was the biggest turnout for voting. So the votes speak, right? And that's it. Once the vote's done, personally, I think we should move on from that because the many have spoken. That's it, right?
Leave it for the Guardian to decide what they do next with it.
No. What? Sorry, no. I'm just talking about because some people came on and started flooding the project or saying different things. I think personally, once something's voted in, because if we're gonna have any democracy around this, right, and we're gonna actually stick to the votes, because if the votes don't mean anything, then the DAO doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So but the many came out in a high turnout, like the biggest turnout of voting, and they voted for it. It was like quite close, but they voted for it eventually. You need to stick. What's that? Sorry.
What does the project do?
I'm not going to go into specific. I don't want to mention certain projects, right? Because I don't want to target anyone, and I don't. I just want to keep it fair. But just moving on, I just want to make this point because it's really important that when things are voted through, what we do is we stick by that vote. We trust the voting process, and it's gone. If you want to learn from that, that's a different thing. But don't, because at the end of the day, they've partnered with us regardless of anything, right? So we're supporting them, they're supporting us, right? And that's it. And you voted and it's gone through. And in regards to selling, if it's an OTC deal, I believe that you need to stick to somewhat by what the agreement is, because you've done an OTC deal. They've given you more value than the 13 ETH, so you've got to respect that. If it's outside of an OTC deal, if it's a market buy, then it doesn't matter as much because you're looking at the best interests of yourself only there at that point. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but we're evolving, right? It's a big project, and there's a lot of great people around the project, a lot of big brains around the project. And I think that it's just a matter of getting everyone together and doing the best for the DAO.
Yeah, for me, I think all this controversy coming out now is a good thing, because from what I gathered, this is like the first proposal where, it's like 13 ETH to over 200 ETH kind of thing. And I think with all this disagreement, and we can all learn as a community in cults, because like in that bull run, there's a high chance that other projects that we've invested in are going to do this sort of multiple X. And I think now we've almost set a foundation in place for like how we act. Do you know what I mean? In the future.
Yeah.
So I think it's like we've all learned. Like,
yeah.
it's a good thing that's happened.
So aside from this proposal, has there been like first of all, have there been any other like controversial or dividing proposals? And if so, how does the many deal with that? Is there like a conflict resolution thing? How does that work? Any mediation?
There's not, but I wish there was, because you know what it is. It's hard, right? When you have such a DAO which actually hits a lot of people and a lot of people relate to it, they have a personal connection with it, right? I certainly do, because it's something that there's loads of different things that Cult wants to do and what the manifesto talks about that I'm seeing in the world, and that needs to change, right? So that's why I spend a lot of time around Cult, and that's why I'm here. That's why I do Manifesto Mondays. That's why I want to go to conferences and talk about Cult, because it's good, right? It's a public good. But when you get a lot of people that feel the same way and have a connection, and you look at the markets that are going down, and you put everything comes in and emotions take over.
Yeah,
I think that's not good, but let it come out now. And what I want to say is that think of the best interest of the DAO. I've been saying this all the way throughout this podcast. Think about the DAO and nothing else. Like, brush away your egos, even mine. Like, sometimes I think stuff, but it's not about me. It's not about anyone else, because it's the many, right? It's the many. We don't even have a leader, right? So think of it as a whole DAO. It's about the many, not about the few. If you think it's about the few, this DAO does not work. It doesn't, right? It just don't function.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It makes a ton of sense, and I like the fact that you always bring it back to the DAO. What's best for the DAO? What's best for I guess the project in itself. So going on that, so there's a Cult token, obviously. What's the deal with Revolt? What do you do with Revolt? Because obviously
Revolt,
yes.
Yeah, so Revolt launched. I think we were just before ETH Barca, actually. It came out. It basically it's a way. So it basically kind of funds people to follow rule number 1 to talk about Cult, right? So some people have been putting stickers out. Some people have been doing what do you call it? It's been all sorts, really. Some people have been doing like different manifests where they've been doing different languages. Some people have been onboarding people into Cult DAO. Some people have been holding spaces. Obviously, some people have been really creative. I'm not a creative person, so I've not really put a proposal into Cult to say that, oh yeah, I'll take something out of it.
Yeah.
But it's a mechanism to pay people to talk about Cult, to further decentralization, to put the word out. And it's quite genius in a way, right? Because if you think about it, there's nothing out there that's going to really fund you that will basically you're doing what Cult will want you to do, but in a way you're getting paid for it, right? So that's really early, even earlier. That's like it's still finding its feet. We're still trying to make sure that we can kind of get it there. But the thing is, right, you want to help people. The biggest people that will need this is probably people on the other side of the world, right? Where, for example, the lowest is at 0.1 ETH, like reward. You get 40% of that, which is around $100. $100 in some countries is a lot of money. That could be someone's monthly wage, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you think of that, if they're talking about Cult and going out of the way and doing things in these countries are probably needing Cult more than anyone, right? So if they're doing that and they're getting that reward, they're getting paid for it as well. So it's quite a genius way of doing it. It's honestly really genius. And I know that Mr. O and Notorious are building. I don't know what they're building, but they're still up to something right now, which is quite interesting. Yeah.
Another token?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a token, a launch pad. I don't have a clue what it is.
Oh, that's quite a good idea.
It's very interesting the point you make about Revolt and how it could fund. Like you just said, $100 is a lot for someone in some countries. So in a way, it's like you're providing. It's not like you're providing a bank, but you're providing some sort of income for furthering the cause of Cult, and obviously that income is a lot of money for some people.
Absolutely.
Which
I mean, you could call it a decentralized financial payment network, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day, it's Oh, but and the great thing is that for the voting mechanism for this, you have cult manders, which have to stake Revolt, and you have and it's not all the stakers; it's the stakers that want to be active, so you opt in. And 400, no, wait, I need to get this number right. 500 people are selected for each voting proposal period, and the many decide if that person is deserving of getting rewarded for their actions, which I think is great. You know.
So, pardon my pun, but has anyone actually been paid to do any revolting?
Yes,
Any
they
actually
have.
going out in the streets and doing something crazy?
Yeah. Probably not. Well, actually, yeah. Talk about crazy. Someone actually, yeah, there have been a few instances. I won't go into it. People have done things, right? People have done things, but the many decide if it gets voted or not, and it goes through or not. You know.
To be fair, it works because someone in our team was walking through London and they came across a cult sticker.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's good. And at the end of the day, right, it's unique in its thing, and I don't know anyone else that is doing this. You know, there's nothing out there that is doing it, and I'm really bullish on the people behind it. I mean, we talked about the rumors of who it could be. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter who it is because whoever it is, they've done what needed to be done, right? They've done it. But whoever it is, hats off to them. Like they're geniuses, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, what has Cult done for charity? I saw on the actual Dune report that like a certain percentage of the proposals goes towards charitable causes. I think one of the ones I heard about was the farmers in the Netherlands, right?
That's right. Yeah. They actually, they sent funds over there as well, which I think is absolutely truly amazing. We've got Cult Family Cares as well, which is run by a good community member as well. Cult Family Cares basically helps people that are struggling. So it could be an individual. It doesn't have to be like a cult holder. It could be anyone. So it could be someone you might know in your personal life that is struggling, or a single, like I'm just giving an example. It could be like someone that's not being able to pay their bills, or like real life issues. And it just shows that it's in the name, Cult Family Cares. We care about people, and we want to help people out there that really and truly need it, right? And these are people that are going out of their way doing this without getting anything for it, right? So they've set up this Cult Family Cares. The funding goes out to, like, they have a pot, and that pot is split into helping different people, and then that feedback's given back to us saying that, oh, we help this person. I don't think they name them, which is great. You don't need to name people, but if it's going to a particular person and it's helping them in their journey, like, I think there's nothing better than this. Like, think about bills going up ridiculously, right? In the UK, you know that they're crazy. A lot of people that don't have much income or no income are going to struggle, right? People are thinking, are they going to eat? Are they going to heat? What are they going to do, right? So that's just touching a little bit of it. But what about the people that were already at that position that are going to get thrown even further down?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And I think like I did a Twitter Spaces yesterday with one of the founders of Impact Market. And if you've not heard of them, go check them out. They're basically a protocol that's trying to provide financial products to people in countries where they don't have banks. So basically to the bankless, right? Because if you want to get ahead in life, like, really, if you have access to some sort of financial product where you can get a loan, you can get, you can actually do something, create opportunities, that sort of thing. So this is what these guys are doing. And it kind of reminds me, like, what you just described, it kind of reminds me of what they're doing. And it made me realize that there could be a potential proposal for them, because they really are helping out some people. And by the looks of things, Cult is also, and Revolt is helping out people as well, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I'm really, like, obviously we're in a really bad market, and I think it's probably going to get worse before it gets any better. And that's following Mr. O's sentiment quite strongly as well. But imagine this, right? You build your community, you're doing it in a bear market, you're fully decentralized, right? And you tweak everything to the T. And basically, you hit the bull market, your treasury is going to be huge with that volume that's going to come in, right? You can actually help more people down the line. And I'm really bullish on that because unfortunately in this world, you need money to make a change, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You need money. Money makes money, but money also brings change and money also helps people. And I'm really bullish on how big our treasury could get and how big it already was, right? It was huge and it still is. And we've funded like $1.7 million. Like, that's a massive amount for a DAO, which comes from anonymous founders, right?
A decentralized background.
Yeah.
We've got a good comment from this guy saying, guy or lady, sorry. The problem I see with this concept is that investors approach crypto under a capitalist framework. Buy, pump, and dump. Investors don't operate with the mindset of greater good. I think you get a mix of, I think that might be a huge generalization, from my opinion anyway. It might be a huge generalization about the crypto world, because I have met quite a lot of people that are doing this for the greater good. And some people I've met from, like, obviously from the cult community. Some people I've met from the doing good community, which I think you guys are like, you have a partnership with them. Yeah. And some others like Impact Market. Like there's people out there that are using blockchain tech and centralization as a way of improving humanity for the greater good. Of course, there's a lot of other people that want, are coming into it because of the money that they can make. But you can't really control that, can you?
No, you can't, right? And the greatest thing about that is, what I'd like to say is, right, you're always going to get people, no matter what project it is, they're going to buy, pump, and they may dump it. But we welcome the treasury, right? Because the tax is 0.4%. That fills up our treasury. And if that's not going to happen, then we can't fund proposals. People are going to do that. They can do that. But utility always wins, right? Utility will win. Utility comes out, right? And on the back of that also is that if you come into our spaces, you come into our community, you'll see the people that have been there from day one and what they're doing and how they're how bullish they are on this, right? Honestly, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, think of the markets we're in. Think of people not being paid for this. Think of how many hours people are spending on this, right?
Yeah.
And then you think, wow, like that is nuts. And it really is. It really is. I'm really like, we've got some really good people around in this community. If I start naming them, I won't stop, and I'll probably forget a few people. So I don't want to do injustice to missing anyone out. But we've got really, really great people around us. Really great people, and with great people comes change, and with great people, you can do better things, right? So
for sure.
Yeah.
We were just talking to a project just before this call, me and Estefano, and we mentioned cults. Well, as we're about to go on a call to discuss them. And their response was, "Oh yeah, I know Cult. I'm always seeing their hashtag on Twitter." And it's true. Yeah. It is everywhere. The community is incredible.
I remember when I went to ETH Barcelona the day before, I arrived at my hotel and I saw I just went to like a little bar next to the hotel just to, because I had nothing else to do. I was having a beer and waiting for Dom and Mike to arrive. And then there was this other table next to me. They're quite a big table. And I heard him speaking about crypto. And I was like, oh, I might go say hello. And I was waiting. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, I'm so excited to see Cult. And I'm like, fucking hell. Like these guys like, and they were speaking in Spanish, by the way. And I'm Spanish, so I know how to speak Spanish. And they're like, I'm excited to meet Cult. Cult is an amazing project. Like, you should look at the tokenomics and look at what they've done. It's insane. I was like, fucking hell. Like, these guys have really, 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 like, the word of mouth is insane.
So, word of mouth is the best marketing tool ever, right? You cannot beat it. You cannot, because people connect with it. If I see an ad on something, I'm probably going to be like, you know what? This is probably just, or you see, look at Twitter ads, for example. You see the engagement levels on them, but people pay for them. There's no engagement levels, but they always come up on my feed and they're really annoying. I'm normally like, nope, not interested in the ad, not interested. But people are paying for that. But word of mouth is the best sort of marketing you can have. And I keep repeating this, but utility and community will win at the end. Simple as, and same with use, like same with VEMP, by the way. Like, I'm so bullish on VEMP. like I've had to use on a checklist for a while. You know, I've got a bit of a checklist, like what I like and what I want to invest in and what I want to do. And before your last parabolic rise, you were on my list before that. And then when that happened, I was like, oh God, people are finding out about VEMP now. Like, you know, but you know what though? It's all about utility and how you treat people, how you treat your community and what you do for them, and having good people on board, you know. That's what it comes down to fundamentally.
I think whilst we're on this topic, I think we need to probably mention our wallet / Dom has put forward the first proposal for Cult, and it's forgive me, I think it's PDO Finance.
PDO Finance, yep.
Yeah, it's quite a complicated one, but it's quite interesting. And I don't know if the vote's started yet, but that's from the vEmpire deployer wallet.
I think the vote has started, yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what PDO is, but if Dom is into it, then I'm into it.
PDO Finance is very complicated. I'm definitely not going to try getting into it because it went well above my head. The team are quite solid, the real builders. The thing is, right, when you get real builders that come into the mix, people don't tend to understand them, and it takes a lot of work. And with the crypto retail investors especially, they want something they can understand like this, and then they just want to they want immediate returns, and things don't work like that really. You know, I'll give you an example. Look at what was the biggest game? I've forgotten the name now.
Axie
Infinity. If you look at their chart, how long did they go sideways for? Ages, and then they went boom, right? I can guarantee you, people that held through sideways probably sold at some point and then regretted it, right? Because they were the first movers, they had a massive community, but people get bored, right? And sometimes you've got to stick to your conviction. NFA, by the way, I'm not giving no financial advice, but what I'm trying to say is just think about utility, think about the team, think about the community, think about all these things. Things don't exactly go up in a straight line, and they don't happen all of a sudden, but if you've got a good mix of that, then some things are going to catch up sooner than later.
That's one of the things I actually not like so much about our industry and our space is that people are in it for just the shorts. Well, not everyone, obviously. I'm not making a generalization, but like often people don't look at who, like you just said, who's the team behind this idea, like what else have they got out there? Like I don't know, have they developed a game? Have they got an MVP? Have they got really good partnerships? That sort of thing. And it's crazy how people just expect just the chart to go up all the time, which is insane. It's like it's not sustainable.
It's not. Absolutely not, right? And the thing is, it's all about the bigger picture, and crypto is still very early. People like some people are like, oh, if you weren't here for the last bear market, then you missed out or whatever. But have we really? Like, mass adoption hasn't kicked in. Retail are nowhere near to be seen right now. So has it really happened? And I don't think it has. If I look at my immediate family and my wife's family, no one knows about crypto. You met him, Estefano. I brought my brother-in-law to ETH Barca, right?
Yeah.
He's a young lad. And the reason I brought him was because I want to teach him about crypto early on. I want him to have a grasp of it. No one in my family knows about it. He's got a cult bag, by the way. So that I found it like I said, you need to buy Cult DAO, right? And but at the end of the day, not a lot of people know about it. When I look at my immediate family, no one knows what. This is how I explain my job to them in my crypto, right? So I work for a VC at the moment, and they said, "What do you do?" "Oh, have you heard of Bitcoin?" "Yeah, I've heard of Bitcoin." "Oh, that's what I do." I end the conversation at that because they've only heard of Bitcoin and they don't know. If I said to them that we invest in other projects, oh, what are other projects? What are they? What do they do? Like, they just don't have the concept of crypto being bigger than Bitcoin, but they don't even understand Bitcoin. Like, it's early.
It's coming. Like, I've seen crazy like integrations and partners. Like Google the other day, it's now accepting Bitcoin as payment. Like, Google is like one of the big top 5 or top 3 biggest companies in the world, along with Microsoft, and they started to accept Bitcoin, which is insane. Like, it is coming. It is coming. Now, obviously, because we're a metaverse protocol, do you guys ever see yourselves doing anything in the metaverse, revolting in the metaverse, maybe?
Possibly. We've invested in is it, oh god, I got honestly, is it
Wisterverse.
Wisterverse, that's it, Wisterverse. I don't want to say it wrong. Wisterverse. They do like protests and stuff in the metaverse and have gatherings. They did one in person as well in London the other day on the weekend, I believe. We had some cult folks representing in there as well. Soldier of Cult, he was there with his cult mask. And we've got an investment in Shibaverse as well, I believe. So we've got investment in there. I mean, the thing is, right, like the more decentralized you go, you need to have, this is my take, my personal take, is that you need to have representation in certain fields, right? So if people are going to the metaverse, then I think there needs to be representation of cult there as well, because you need to attract like from different avenues, right? You want people from all walks of life, and you can only do that if there's representation there. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's exciting to see. Hopefully, we can do something with probably with Cult in the future. We had our sandbox event not long ago. We could potentially do something there. So who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
We'll see. We'll see. I'm pretty sure our Ethereum strategy has some cult in it.
So, nice.
I'm sure it does.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
We might become guardians ourselves. Who knows?
Who knows? That's true. No, you know what though, right? It's astonishing, right? Like we get questions all the time about different things, and I truly believe that the best thing about our community, I just want to say this, I keep saying community and I keep coming back to it because that's what's holding the project, right? You can build tools, but if they're not utilized, then they're useless, right? And vice versa. If you don't have the tools and you have a community, the hype goes and then it dies and it's gone, you know? So, so at the end of the day, like we always say transparency, honesty, approachability has to be there. And the more people that do that in the community, the more people that will look at us and come to us and approach with questions. And it's interesting. I'm really bullish on where we're heading and what's happening, and I'm really, really grateful for the people that have connected within the space. If it wasn't for Cult, I wouldn't be on this crypto journey that I'm on now myself personally. It's given me a lot of confidence and a lot of it's kind of made me think outside the box what I could do in this space as well, and which is great. You know, if you can further decentralization and help people and do things that are going to be good in the long run, then you know it's there. So
for the people who are on this call and on the stream and want to get involved in Cult, where do you think they should go to first? Discord, Twitter Spaces?
I would personally say go and don't follow my advice. Like look at the manifesto first. go onto the website cultdao.io. Listen to the Charlie Chaplin speech because that is really moving. And I'm not saying just listen to it because it's moving, but if you think about it, that came out 70 years ago, maybe 70, 80 years ago. It's so it's still relevant now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. I remember seeing it in when Jeff did the Cult DAO talk in ETH Barcelona. I remember seeing he put the video on, and like I felt like crying almost because I was like, my hairs were like on point, and I was like, fuck, like, and it's just it's insane how it's still relevant today. Like 70 years later, we've not learned, I guess.
Exactly. And that kind of, in a lot of ways, is quite worrying, right? And at the end of the day, you know, we've had people come in and say, you ain't going to change anything. Like, you're not going to do anything. But if you can take a step forward, that's one step forward than you were where you started, right? So someone has to do something. And I think that we are moving in the right direction. We're not saying we're going to change it, but if we can support projects that are going to help do it or anything else, like I'd rather move forwards than stay where I am, even if it's one step forward, you know? The other thing I wanted to touch on was, read the manifesto, read it. It is quite grim at the start, but go through it and think why it's grim, right? Why is it written the way it's written? What are the issues? And read it a couple of times and come into the Telegram's a bit more, a lot of crypto Telegrams a bit gify and a bit, you know, it moves really quickly and you can't really have a conversation. If you're wanting a real conversation, go into Discord. That's where the proposal talks are. That's where in the general chat, that's where a lot of the Guardians are as well. if you don't like going into Discord or Telegram, I hold Manifesto Mondays every Monday, 9 p.m. BST. Come on to there. You're more than welcome. Don't be afraid, or don't think that, oh, I can't ask this question because I'm a noob, I don't know anything about the project. Every question is welcome. You know, I think about myself and joining projects. If I'm not able to ask questions because I'm new to the project, bit of a red flag, to be honest. You want people to join. You want people to ask questions. You want transparency, honesty. The only way you wouldn't want that is if you're hiding something. Simple as that.
Yeah, I'd recommend the same thing, to be honest. Like, probably you don't even need to buy or hold any cult or Revolt. I guess just be part of the community and just speak to everyone there. Like, I've met quite a few really like intelligent and incredible people at ETH Barcelona. Obviously, Harry is one of them. But no, yeah, you guys have a strong community, and I really love what you guys are doing. So yeah, where can people find you, Harry? Where can people, Twitter, Telegram, where is it?
I'm on Twitter quite a lot. I got iHarry77 Twitter and Telegram handle. A lot of people DM me, and I get back to every DM, because unless it's a spam DM or a marketing DM, one of them ones you get where, we'll pump your project. I avoid them. But if it's a genuine question, I will always get back to you. That's how I've learned. I've reached out to people, and people have given me their time. And also reach out to other people as well. If people don't get back to you, don't take it personally. Some people are just really busy in the space. But just think this: if you don't reach out to people, it's always you're always not going to get the answer if you don't reach out. If you reach out and one person gets back to you, it's a positive. So always have that positive mentality. People help people. That's why people grow. So if I can be of any help, always reach out to me. I'm always open to that.
Perfect. Ooh. Wonderful. Well, I guess on that note, we're going to end the stream now. It's been amazing learning more about the community, how it manages itself, how like the tokenomics obviously are just insane, how the treasury fills itself. So yeah, it's been a pleasure having you, Harry.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I guess we'll see everyone in the next stream.
I do.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.